Greetings, children of the screen and Contrarians viewers. Your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again. Today's video is going to be a companion piece to my recent crossover with the Contrarians for a QVR where we looked at Highlander from 1986. One of my absolute favorite movies of all time. Definitely go check that video out over on the Contrarians channel if you haven't already done so. But the reason for this video is because during the filming of that, at one point, the question was brought up about Highlander video games.
Final question for either of you, if you know. No Highlander video game?
And despite my love and vast knowledge of the franchise, I was absolutely fucking stumped. I had no clue. Like, I vaguely remembered that there was like a PS2, PS3 Highlander game that I saw an advertisement for, but that was all my mind had to offer. And then whenever I was editing that video and going through footage, I found that game I had seen previewed. And I went, great, because the research I had done had said that there were 2 Highlander games that were released. I had found the first one for sure, so here was the second one. Wrong. As it turns out, the game that I remembered being advertised was never actually released, which then made me go, well, what the fuck was the second Highlander game? And that led me down this long rabbit hole, which led to this video, where I am going to briefly go through a history of the Highlander franchise video games, both released and unreleased. Now, it is not a long journey, but it is a weird journey, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive in with the first Highlander game that was released, Highlander, which came out in 1986 as a promotional effort alongside the movie. Published by Ocean Software for ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, and Amstrad CPC home computers. Highlander is an arcade-style fighting, or more precisely fencing game, providing both single and 2-player modes. Single-player mode offers the vaguest attempt at a storyline, where you play as Connor MacLeod moving through 3 stages meant to represent certain set pieces from the film. The first being against Sean Connery's character from the film Ramirez, set in Connor's castle abode. Second, Facile, the first immortal battle in the film, set in the parking garage of Madison Square Garden. And finally, the Kurgan on the rooftop that appears in the first half of the final climactic battle of the film. The game was panned by reviewers and players alike across all versions, citing difficult, unresponsive controls, enemies whose health bars constantly replenish, as they are immortals, as well as varying levels of suckiness in terms of graphics and music. Essentially, it was almost playable, overly simplistic, and unbelievably frustrating. But again, it was from Ocean, so what do you expect? The second and last game released, based on the Highlander franchise, came in 1995 with Highlander, Last of the MacLeods, published by Atari Corporation exclusively for the Atari Jaguar CD, based on the 1994 animated Highlander series. And if you've never seen this series, holy fuckballs, is it nothing of what you might be picturing in your head. Highlander has always played really fast and loose with its mythology and continuity, but this show goes way out there in order to try to make Highlander a property for children. It goes almost as far out there as Highlander the Source, both of which maybe are things that we're going to cover on this channel at some point in the future. We'll see what's going on. The Last of the MacLeods is a tank-controlled third-person action-adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic world. The plot roughly follows the first season of the animated series, where players play as Quentin MacLeod, on a journey to save his clan from Cortan, an evil immortal who refuses to swear an oath taken by other immortals to no longer fight for the prize, but instead guide humanity into rebuilding their society. Like many similar games of the time, gameplay includes not only battling opponents, but collecting items and solving puzzles to further your progress. Highlander, The Last of the MacLeods was originally intended as the first part of a trilogy. However, this version of the Atari Corporation would shut down before the second 2 installments could be released. While Highlander has always been a bit of a niche franchise, you would still think that just based on its longevity alone, there would be more than 2 video games made for the franchise, and there almost were. Over the years, a multitude of Highlander games have been developed, yet have not managed to meet release. So to get us started with the unreleased games, let's go with Highlander the Gathering, an MMORPG being developed by Calypso Entertainment between 2002 and 2004. But before the game could be completed, Calypso was bought out by SCI Entertainment, who made the decision not to move forward with the production. Very few details were released or known about the specific game, however, there was a trailer release for it, which is the footage that you're seeing now. I've also seen a lot of confusion online, with many believing this game did come out in some form or fashion, but that's due to a confirmation with the title Highlander the Gathering, a net supplement that incorporates Highlander-style immortals into White Wolf's World of Darkness. Though outside of the title, I'm not sure what all the confusion is, because the net supplement was released by Hank Drizzle in September of 1993. That's a big difference in timeline. In 2005, Climax Studios made a pitch for Highlander the Methuselah Stone with plans to release on the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. 6 months in prototyping yielded a tech demo, footage of which you're seeing now. From my research, I was unable to find a definitive reason why the game was never picked up, but it seems that over the next few years, the concept was worked on and then quietly shelved. Most likely to make way for the next game that we're going to be talking about, which of course also did not meet release. Highlander, the game, began development being announced for PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, with a trailer released in 2008. The trailer showcases multiple time periods and locations, accompanied by a voiceover from the game's protagonist, Owen MacLeod. This is the game that I mistook for having been released and incorporated into the footage used in the Contrarians Highlander QVR. And out of all these unreleased games, this one's the most disappointing, as the lead writer on it was also the lead writer on Highlander the series, and was supposed to incorporate various fan-favorite characters from that series and potentially the films. This iteration was cancelled in 2010 without any reason stated. However, the publisher, Artist Interactive, was bought out by Square Enix in 2009 and might have something to do with it. Often, with these kind of regime changes, the new bosses have a tendency to throw out everything that was being developed underneath the previous regime in order to make room for their own plans. So there you have it, children of the screen and Contrarians viewers. A brief history of the Highlander franchise video games and whatever information I could find on all the ones that weren't released. But I'm sure there's probably more out there that I just wasn't able to find any information on. If you know anything about any other unreleased Highlander games, let me know down in the comments below. Now, it should be said that I personally am not necessarily a gamer. If it's not Resident Evil, then I normally don't play it, okay? But if you would like a more in-depth look from that perspective, then I would definitely recommend that you check out YesterDane, a smaller but extremely talented YouTuber who has a much more thorough examination of these titles, as well as a lot of other cool content. And if you'd like to see more of that tech demo and hear a little bit more about the Methuselah Stone, then I definitely recommend checking out the video covering it on PtoPOnline. The links for both of these videos will be in the description. And if you have not yet checked out my crossover video with the Contrarians for Highlander 1986, definitely check that out. It is probably one of the best videos I've ever edited and been a part of, and I'm very proud of it. It's very cool, and obviously it spawned this whole apology video due to one little mistake that I made in that video, so clearly it must be something I'm proud of. Thank you very much, children of the screen and Contrarians viewers. I hope you all have a good one. Nerd Scum, out.